Right now at 6, we're on the lookout for a couple winter storms this week. I'll time out when each round of snow arrives over the next several days.
Plus, some brighter additions are on the way to the Pretzel City. Tonight, the team up between Freeport and ComEd to try to make the city safer. And searching for a suspect. Rockford police trying to track down the man charged with a deadly shooting. Well, the latest from authorities.
Live from 13 WREX, we've got you covered. This is 13 News at 6.
Good evening. We begin tonight at 6 with a live look at downtown Rockford on a pretty nice Monday evening here. We've had a pretty calm start to the work week, but things about to change over the next few days. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Derek Bain. Right now, the National Weather Service issuing a winter storm watch for the state line, but we're not going to see any impacts right away. Storm Track 13 Chief Meteorologist Alex Kirchner joins us now. And Alex, take us through what we need to know and how to stay weather aware as we get ready for first real winter storm, it seems, here.
Yeah, Derek, it's overdue. We haven't had a winter storm yet this season, but that's going to change in a couple days. First up, we may see some flurries late tonight and tomorrow morning. Nothing to do with the Wednesday storm, but don't be surprised if we do see some snowflakes again late tonight, early tomorrow. You can see them on their way from Iowa, dusting at best out of that round of snowfall. And that is not associated with the winter storm watch. That'll be again for Wednesday, so a completely separate storm here, but this one may pack a punch. We're definitely overdue for a good old winter storm. Finally getting one later this week. Could be looking at over 6 inches of snowfall across northern Illinois and into far southeast Wisconsin. Not a guarantee that all areas are going to see up to 6 inches or more for snowfall, but this is the general threat area that we're going to watch closely here over the next several days. So definitely stay tuned for updates on timing and amounts. And be ready for treacherous travel conditions. Might be hard to navigate, especially Wednesday evening, so prepare as you need to. As we look towards the next several days, again, flurries tonight. Snow could be heavy at times on Wednesday, and then we might be seeing a second winter storm, so we may not have to wait long for a second helping that could be coming in over the weekend. I'll track just when all of this snow comes through and the impacts we face. That's ahead in the forecast. For now, Derek, back to you.
All right, dust off those shovels and snow blowers. Thanks, Alex. Now at 6, through ComEd's Select Communities program, residents in the city of Freeport can expect to see streetlights in various areas, with the city sharing first and foremost, safety is their main concern when it comes to these new additions.
Whether that be through increased foot traffic in areas or because certain areas just have really dim lighting, we are hoping to address those head on so that residents can feel safe in our community. That's the number one thing, and that's what I'll focus on, is the safety of the residents of the city comes first and foremost.
Beyond the impact, Freeport has already begun planning where they want to install these new lights as they look to solve a problem that's been on their mind for a while.
We were talking about the IDOT corridors, meaning West, Galena, and even South Street. And then, of course, through council members and alderpersons, we have gathered more and more information as time has gone on, especially with law enforcement, about where the most in need areas are.
The city says people can expect to see improved street lighting in multiple parts of the city starting this summer. Developing now out of Rockford, a manhunt underway for a suspect charged with the fatal shooting last week. 35-year-old Stephen Body, who you see on your screen right now, is accused of first-degree murder and aggravated battery. This comes after a deadly shooting on 4th Avenue last Thursday. Rockford police rushed to the scene there after a party ended in gunshots. 19-year-old DeJounte Poe and a 20-year-old were both injured, with Poe later dying in the hospital. Tonight, police are still searching for Body, saying more charges could still be handed down. If you know anything about the shooting, reach out to Rockford Police at the number on your screen or through their social media pages. Another big story we're following tonight. The family of Sonia Massey has reached a big settlement with Sangamon County. However, it still awaits final approval from the county board. The county is set to pay $10 million as part of an ongoing effort to address Massey's death. She was shot by former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson in her home last July. With the board set to debate the payout, some members say the settlement is a bad look for everyone, with taxpayers now footing the bill, but others claim taxes won't go up at all. New tonight, Governor J.B. Pritzker protecting victims of domestic violence around the state by officially signing Karina's bill into law. The legislation is named after Karina Gonzalez, a mother who was killed alongside her daughter by her husband. She had previously filed for a restraining order before he used a gun to shoot the family. The new law, however, requires police to take away guns from people who have an order of protection against them. And in Washington, Congressman Eric Sorensen taken to the House floor to reintroduce his bill that would crack down on scammers. It's called the Quiet Act. It centers around the use of AI. Now, if Congress passes the bill, robocallers would have to disclose when they use artificial intelligence and increase the penalty for scammers who use it to impersonate people. Representative Sorensen highlighting that these types of scams are dangerous and can affect your wallet.
All the while, scammers are using AI technology to impersonate loved ones, their banks, or even their government. And too often it ends up with people being duped. Every sheriff in my district tells a similar story.
The Quiet Act is currently in committee, and we don't know yet when it will be voted on by the full House. Just days ago, President Donald Trump said he would be suing the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. This is due to the status as a sanctuary city and state for immigrants. Several states and cities are claiming the status, and the federal government is now suing. And that list also includes California and Colorado.
To some degree, it either is or could be an example of state and local government defying the federal government. And that's the kind of issue that raises hackles and gets people involved when the federal government and state and local governments are bumping heads.
And the political expert from Rockford University there, Bob Evans, anticipates Illinois being just the first state to be sued. As we learn more about the lawsuit, China now taking action against the U.S., issuing retaliatory tariffs after the president's weekend threat. Meanwhile, Democrats are now taken to the courts to slow Donald Trump's domestic policy flurry. NBC's Vaughn Hilliard is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
Any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
President Trump on Sunday making that announcement, adding there will also be a 25% import tax on aluminum. The president adding he intends to tax almost every country that taxes U.S. exports, except the ones he says treat the U.S. fairly.
The ones that are taking advantage of the United States, we're going to have it's reciprocity, it's reciprocal.
Canada is the biggest exporter of steel and aluminum to the U.S., and in the short term, these tariffs could raise prices, but experts say they see investment in the long term. Today, China tariffs on U.S. goods set in, meaning American companies could soon feel the pinch. Meanwhile, Democrats figuring out how they'll respond more effectively to Musk and Trump's torrent moves to overhaul the government.
21 days, we have seen Elon Musk conducting illegal raids on federal agencies with his Doge crew.
Today, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer laying out strategies to fight back with oversight, litigation, legislation, and communication and mobilization. And in a Boston courtroom, a judge hearing arguments on the Trump buyout proposal or deferred resignation plan, another deal to shrink the federal government, offering workers 8 months' pay before they resign. Critics say there's too many questions and employees could lose money if they accepted it. Senior administration officials tell NBC News more than 60,000 federal workers had accepted the offer before a judge paused the deal for this hearing. Here on Capitol Hill, Democrats say they have leverage in the upcoming budget negotiations because of the small majorities that Republicans have here in the Congress, and that any deal that Speaker Johnson were to come up with could very well need some Democratic members' support. But if the two sides can't come to an agreement, the government could shut down by the middle of March. Here in Washington, Vaughn Hilliard, NBC News.
And just minutes ago, President Trump signed a pardon for former Democratic Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. The former governor served 8 years in prison for trying to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat after the 2008 presidential election. The president said in the Oval Office that the sentence was, quote, a terrible injustice. A health alert now across the country. Flu rates are spiking, with about a third of tests taken coming back positive last week. Around 24 million people have gotten the flu so far this season, and health experts only expect that number to grow. Now, here at home, the same is proving to be true, as health professionals at OSF say They've seen more cases this year than previous ones, and they attribute it to the vaccines not being as effective this year.
Sometimes it actually hits the strain that we have, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's likely more from a mutational thing. So the flu virus itself likely mutated a bit. And so that's why we're seeing some of the rise in the numbers.
As with any illness, health experts remind everyone to wash their hands and stay at home if they're not feeling well. More health news. Weight loss drugs got a big publicity boost last night thanks to a Super Bowl ad. Experts want you to know about the potential risks that this sort of medicine can bring, though.
The FDA becomes involved if there's side effects or bad things happen. People report those to the FDA, and that's when the FDA can come in and then say, okay, show me what you're doing, how you're doing it, and then either be okay with it or not okay with it.
And the pharmacy manager you heard from there says knowing what you're putting inside you is important, since the days of pharmacies making fresh medicine are past us.
We don't have compounding pharmacies in every corner like we used to. But compounding pharmacy really is taking medication, whether that's making a tablet or making a paste, usually they're ointments, creams, solutions, and making something that's not available from the manufacturers, not available on a commercial market. So it's a little bit different than things you would find elsewhere.
And Laird says if you're ever unsure on what to take, always speak with a medical professional first. Still to come on 13 News at 6. 4 years of fighting between Russia and Ukraine could end soon. The conditions being asked to end the war. Plus, one local cheer team brought home a state championship over the weekend, returning to the top after winning 3 in a row just a few years back. We'll hear from the state champs coming up a little later in sports.
And be ready for a few rounds of snow this week, starting with one tonight, bringing in some flurries and, of course, some bigger storms potentially coming later this week, including one on Wednesday. You might have gotten an alert about that recently. I'll time out and check the impacts of all of these storms. That's coming up in the forecast.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Klein.
And I'm Ron Steele. Some breaking news here tonight. President Trump announcing today 25% tariffs on imports of aluminum and steel coming in to the United States. That certainly was expected. 25% tariff on all imported steel and aluminum. Aluminum, of course, could impact industries from auto to aerospace. This will be in addition to the new reciprocal tariffs, which match other country tariffs on U.S. goods. That will be announced in coming days.
They charge us, we charge them. That's all.
When does it go into effect?
Almost immediately, and it'll be great for everybody, including the other countries. But if they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way.
Now, today, the president signing dual executive orders for steel and aluminum tariffs. That happened just this afternoon. At the time, he said, no exceptions, no nothing.
619 structure fire, Ford Corporation. Major explosion.
In Pennsylvania tonight, 8 people have been injured. A huge explosion at a chemical plant. Firefighters are among the injured. More than 200 people work at this plant. Initial investigations show that workers luckily did not face a worst-case scenario.
It's really lucky that there weren't fatalities on this because of the extent of the explosion.
Now, the company says the explosion did cause major damage, but thankfully none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. They say they will learn from today's accident and continue emphasizing the importance of plant safety.
Well, Hamas says that it is postponing the next release of hostages that had been a part of a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East with Israel. They're accusing Israel of failing to follow the terms of the agreement. The next release is supposed to happen on Saturday, but Hamas leaders say Israel has delayed the return of those displaced in Gaza and haven't given necessary relief to enter the Gaza Strip. Following the announcement, families of the hostages staged protests asking for other countries to help restore and implement the ceasefire conditions. And Ukraine's president says he is ready to negotiate ending the war with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, in its 4th year, Vladimir Zelensky says he's ready to discuss ending it, but only on certain conditions. If The United States and Europe continue supporting Ukraine and offer them guaranteed security.
Well, tonight, check out this. This is the Euclid Space Telescope. Look what it spotted in outer space, a phenomenon known as the Einstein Ring. Light from a distant galaxy serving as kind of a magnifying glass to show off a bending ring, helping to bring distant objects in space into view. That is a spectacular scene. Elizabeth, I don't know about you, but that's way, way above my pay grade, for sure.
Quite a sight.
Right now, it's almost 6:18 on a Monday night. Let's take a look at some of the closing numbers on Wall Street today. Good day for the Dow Jones Average, NASDAQ, and S&P 500. Your storm track forecast next.
After avoiding snow showers through a lot of this winter, we do have conditions turning more active this week. So it's not like we haven't had snowfall. We've had a couple light amounts every so often, like we're going to see tonight. So a few snowflakes coming through tonight, tomorrow morning, maybe a dusting of snowfall. That said, we haven't had a winter storm yet, but that looks to end as we go into Wednesday. That could be our first winter storm of the season. That's why you probably got an alert on your phone from the 13 WREX weather app. We have a winter storm watch out for that particular weather system, and then may see kind of a double dip here. We could see a second winter storm with similar results coming in late Friday and Saturday. So the alerts again, the winter storm watch, that's for Wednesday systems. Whatever we pick up tonight, tomorrow, and not associated with that. That storm, though, could drop a good 6 inches of snowfall across northern Illinois into far southeast Wisconsin. So, of course, travel impacts likely here, especially during the Wednesday evening to Wednesday night drive. So just make sure you're adjusting your plans accordingly. Prepare as you need to. This is not a panic and go out and buy everything kind of thing, but maybe it's I'm going to shift my grocery store schedule to be a little earlier on Tuesday or early Wednesday morning before the snow comes in, that sort of thing. As we look at a satellite and radar, we've got a cold front coming through right now that's going to drop temperatures for tomorrow, and right behind it, some flurries swinging in. Again, it's a dusting at best after midnight through early tomorrow morning, so really not picking up much of anything for snowfall here. We do turn colder, though, down to 17 for the low. Tomorrow, only 24 for the high, so that's about 10 degrees colder than today. So pretty chilly conditions going into Tuesday. Those flurries clear out early, and then we have a partly cloudy sky later in the day. Then comes again our first winter storm of the season. Definitely overdue for this. Be nice to see a nice little blanket of snow on the ground. Could see 6+ inches of snowfall. As the snow starts out light, you'll notice here that the showers themselves take a little while to get going, and then they're pretty steady through Wednesday morning, coming down at a light to moderate clip throughout a lot of the day. But then watch out Wednesday evening. You'd see these darker bands of snow coming in. That is heavy snowfall, so that's when the snow really starts to pile up and could make a mess of roads Wednesday evening into Wednesday night before the storm clears out early Thursday. And again, we could be looking at a good 6+ inches of snowfall here, so stay tuned for updates as we get closer towards Wednesday on timing and amounts. Might see a similar scenario play out for late Friday into Saturday. Still a little too early to see just how that storm tracks into our backyard. But stand your toes. We could be making up that snowfall deficit in a hurry here with a couple storms this week. Cold temperatures, too. We warm up going into Saturday, but only to around freezing. Otherwise, it's a lot of days in the teens to 20s for highs. So lots of chilly weather around the corner.